Hey folks, Nathan and Dan from Nikon here. We're back with Dan versus Nathan, episode 2. Last time we did portrait in a car. This time, Dan, what are we going to be doing?
This time we're doing tabletop photography. We've both brought in a collection of products that we're both going to be shooting. Mine is from my friend asking me to be one of his groomsmen for his wedding. So I brought in all the items that he kind of gave to me as part of the asking process. I'm going to do kind of a memento piece. What are you going to be shooting?
I went to the thrift store. I found a couple old cassette tapes, and I think I'm going to arrange them on the table, and we'll try to make something interesting with that.
Cool. I'm going to use the Z6 III today, so brand new model. I'm going to actually try shooting with the pixel shift function of that camera. And the lens I'm going to use is the 24-70 f2.8.
Nice. I'm shooting with the Z9 and 105mm macro today for some super up close and detailed type shots.
Why don't we just get into it and we'll see how it goes.
Before we do that, you want to make it interesting today? Let's say this time you get one shot at the end.
That's fine. No problem. One shot. That's all I need.
All right. May the best man win.
The items that I'm going to be photographing are a collection that my friend gave me when he asked me to be one of his groomsmen. In addition to that, I've brought some things to just kind of tie into the whole theme that I'm going to try to convey, the whole story I'm trying to convey. But the actual focal point of the shot will be the watch. Why don't we just get into it and see what results I can capture. Essentially, my thought process behind creating this setup was starting off with the focal point, which is going to be the watch here. I decided to frame that first, kind of place it in the middle in that way, taking up the prime real estate of the image, and then try to frame it with the rest of the items. So after doing that, I thought, well, I want to have the flask that I have back over here in the shot. In addition to that, I started to place items like the vodka bottle, the fishing lure card that he gave me, as well as these cufflinks and the coffee beans, all just circling the watch to really pull your attention to the center of the frame. I'm pretty happy with this overall, creating a variety of textures and concept around everything that I was trying to do. That about does it for me. I'm going to relinquish the table over to Nathan now and let him set up his composition.
Dan made a valiant attempt, but now it's my turn. I brought with me a whole bunch of cassette tapes. And I'm going to be photographing them with the 105mm macro lens. Let's go. It's not necessarily all about adding light, sometimes subtracting light by occluding it with objects. It could be anything like this trash on the table that will actually direct and guide the light to a specific key area on the photo. And what I was trying to do is simulate almost a brighter patch coming in through the top of the frame rather than just having the whole thing be flooded and washed out. I think that makes a much stronger and a much more visually appealing photograph. The last thing that I did was I focus stacked the image. Focus stacking is when you take multiple slivers of individual slices of focus from within your scene and then stack them together, hence the name focus stacking, in post-processing for a final compiled shot, which is sharp all the way through the scene. I'm excited to take this into Lightroom and see what I can produce.
So we're back on the sofa. We've finally edited our images and we're going to go through them together right now. We're starting with my image.
Yeah, let's go with yours first.
Okay. So I'm actually quite happy with the end result. I don't really do product photography and I'm glad I chose the items that I chose. I think the color palette works really well with one another. What are your thoughts?
I love it, actually. The watch composition looks really good. Just overall, it feels very clean. The lighting, it feels very natural. It doesn't look too flat, pretty dynamic. The contrast from the watch versus the darker background, I think works pretty well. Were there any challenges that you ran into when you were doing the shoot at all?
As someone who doesn't really do this, I had to spend a lot of extra time like really trying to think how I was going to place all the items, and like, you know, there were things that I brought that I didn't end up using because I just couldn't figure out how to make them fit in the image. I felt like either they were too distracting or they just didn't feel right in the spot. One of the lures, for example, was just way too reflective, so I couldn't use it. And then even that one that's in the image, the tassel-y part, the tail part, trying to get those to sit in a way that I was happy with wasn't the easiest either. Those were like the main challenges, I guess. As much as the watch is the highlight of the photo, it's the photo as a whole that you're really looking at, because like I said, it's about the fact that it's a groomsman gift and all of the objects are either part of that gift or have some relation to the event or my friendship with this person. So
Right.
yeah. Yeah. Why don't we move on to yours?
Cool.
I want to see what you did.
This is what I did with mine here.
Okay. It's giving me like a cyberpunky vibe.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I spent a while just arranging like 12 cassette tapes. The final image, you can see they're all upside down. Our eyes are naturally drawn to text. For this image, I feel like it would take the viewer away from the actual visual experience and kind of kick their mind into a different gear, trying to read all the words on the cassette tape. So I actually flipped them upside down so that you get the same idea and the same visual interest without actually taking the viewer out of the experience. The text does add visual interest. There's lots of patterns and stuff.
You just don't want people to sit there actually reading it. Like the fact that it's upside down makes you go like, I'm not gonna even try.
Yeah.
Essentially, right?
It doesn't necessarily register right away that you are supposed to read, right?
Yeah.
It just kind of blocks the viewer a little bit in doing that. You can see if I zoom in too, you get quite good detail.
The focus stacking really helps with that too, right?
Yeah.
So, pixels. I was actually shocked with the quality of the image that I got out of the Z6 III. You know, just even zooming in on the watch face, like there's quite a lot of detail there, even though it's only a 24 megapixel camera. So I was quite pleased with that. Obviously it's not the same as 46, but it was still quite excellent. So those are our two images. As we stated at the beginning of this video, we were only gonna do one photo each. That was part of the challenge. So please let us know in the comments who you thought had a better image, which image you liked more personally and why, as well as what you think would be a cool idea for the next video. That's all for me. Nathan, do you have anything else to add?
No, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.